on, world? Welcome back to another episode of Hey Dad Podcast. I'm John Pierre Zafir.
Derek L. Davis, what's good?
And welcome to episode number 4. So, three times a charm.
3 times a charm,
4
bro.
times.
I don't know what
We
they
for
say.
real.
There we go. We invested in this.
Yeah, we
So
still,
that's good, brother.
we
That's
still
good,
at
man.
it, man.
Yeah.
Back to it. How you? Well, I can't ask you how you been. We were just hanging out yesterday. We
Yeah,
was working.
yeah, we had a full day together yesterday, man,
Yeah.
for the HR Summit.
Yeah.
So that was good. That was a good event, man. It was good to
Yeah.
collaborate with you as always, man.
Yeah.
Bring our creative skill set together and just
Absolutely.
make magic happen, bro.
Yeah, we spoke. We probably mentioned on the episode, maybe episode 1, that we're not just friends and fathers or whatever, but we actually creative partners. We work together a lot. We do a lot of events. And yesterday we did an event. He's a photographer. I'm a videographer. So as you can imagine, we work together a lot. So yesterday was definitely a good time. Positive energy, good energy.
It was, man. It's always good. I like shooting events like that to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
And just kind of pick up and listen
Yeah.
to the content. So
Yeah.
that was good, brother. That
A
was
lot of
really
moving parts. It went by fast, but we was
Yeah.
going 100 miles
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now we're back to this, our other creative space, job that we like to talk about, fatherhood in all its many forms.
Let's
You
do
know
it,
what I'm
man.
saying?
Let's do it.
So my wife, I was talking to my wife, and we were discussing the podcast, and she came up with something that she had wanted to ask, particularly for you.
Okay.
I know you made mention of in the first or second episode that your mother, your father wasn't in your life like
Right,
that.
right,
So
right,
your mother
right.
had you around other influential men
Right.
as you were growing up.
Right.
So did any of those men that she had you around inspire your fatherhood, or how you became a father, or how you parent, or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, at the time, obviously, I didn't realize the impact that it would have on me later, right? So she was planting those seeds for me at a young age that eventually I would kind of mimic some of those things.
Yeah.
And there was a gentleman that she would drop me off to. He was more like a mentor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was a professor at the University of Michigan. I grew up in Michigan in the Ann Arbor area.
Okay.
And she would drop me off over there periodically. And he was a married man with 2 children, if I recall. And I would just have an opportunity to see him interact as a father, to see him interact as a husband, just as a man in general. And, growing up with my mom, and we didn't have a house growing up, so we typically lived in apartments.
Right.
So I didn't get the opportunity to really learn how to do things like cut grass. Right. Unless I was dropped off somewhere to help Mr. So-and-so or brother so-and-so out. I never saw those things, right? Because living in an apartment community,
Right.
somebody did it for you, right? And so when she would drop me off at this particular guy's house, Dr. Allen was his name, Dr. Walter Allen at University of Michigan, he would take me out in the front yard, show me how to use a lawnmower, show me how to cut grass and different things like that. So I'd watch him do that. But I'd also watch him as far as, just giving out direction in the home to his kids. It may be something like, hey, I need you, son, to do this. His son, he would ask him to do X, Y, Z, and he'd ask his daughter to do X, Y, Z. But even though I was a guest in the house, he'd put me to work as well, right?
Right.
He was just, and I think at that time, it was helping me to get used to taking direction from a man, right?
Okay.
So I think a lot of times, especially for young men who grow up with their mother, and they grow up with their aunties, and they grow up with their grandmothers,
Right.
they grow up with their moms, girlfriends, and different things, they really don't get an opportunity often to get direction from a man. And sometimes that can come off kind of abrasive, a guy, a man with bass in his voice saying, hey, I need you to take out the trash, versus the mom, the auntie, that it may come off softer, more pleasant. And so it was getting me used to taking direction from men to say, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, right? But it definitely made a difference, because even as I've grown up, I think I find that, I do those things with my son.
Okay.
Right. Or I may attempt to do those things with the young men that are in my house. My wife has sons.
Right.
And so trying at different times in different ways to lead by example, and I think that's important for me to have seen, is that not only did Dr. Allen give direction, but I also saw him lead as well.
Right.
So he wasn't going to just give direction. I saw him actually taking out the trash. I saw him doing the dishes. I saw him mowing the lawn.
He wasn't asking you to do something he wouldn't do himself.
Exactly.
You know,
right. And so I try to do that with the young man around me, be it, like I said, the boys in the house, or be it my own son. There's nothing I'm not going to ask him to do that I wouldn't do myself. Right. But I also want them to understand that sometimes you have to get used to another man or male figure giving you direction, and it's okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean that's it's very true. I was, when she asked me that, it made me think about, like my father was there, but I also try to think about my uncles and how they were parents, and and even my father's friends.
Yeah.
And their kids and how they were, and I try to. I can't say it necessarily influenced my parenting style, nothing like that, but I kind of remember certain people sticking out in my mind, like my uncle, of course, my mother's brother.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a father. He has a son. My cousin, he's we're cool, but he's always been a cool, laid back type of father.
Right.
What I'm saying? Right. My father was laid back, but he had his moments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think I got some of that maybe in my parents' style of being. My father was laid back in some moments, but he could be like, listen, I'm your father,
right?
That type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily say that to my daughters like that, because our relationship is a bit different. They're my stepdaughters, but that laid back style I definitely got from him, and it's been who I am.
Yeah.
I guess one day we're gonna have our kids on so we can get their perspective on things too. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think I've always thought about that. I would love, and I remember, like, I asked my son one time. I said, hey Miles, if there was, tell me 5 things or 3 to 5 things that you would love to see me do better as your father. Now, it took him a while. Like, I don't know if he just didn't want to answer it because he thought it would be disrespectful, but I gave him full range to say, tell me, like, if I'm messing up in this area or I could do better in this area, like, what would you do?
Right.
And I tell you, I'll be honest, man, the one thing that he did share with me, which really humbled me, and this is a transparent moment, was my temper. He told me he would like to see me kind of take things a little less. I don't know if take things is the right way to say it, but just basically just chill on my temper. That I can go from 0 to 60, and I think, and I'll be honest, like, also, brother, like, I try not to, because that was a part of my father. Like, my father's temper was not good, and I've struggled, and I won't even say struggled. I've made attempts to do my best not to carry that type of temper, and I think sometimes as a parent, when your children can seemingly disrespect you, you can pop off, because you're thinking to yourself, as much as I've done for you, as much as I sacrificed to you, how dare you disrespect me, right? And I'm sure, man, I know I put my mom through it. I know I did, right?
We all as kids.
I know I put my mom through it, and she probably thought in those moments, I can't believe that your ungrateful self would have the audacity to disrespect me, over whatever it may have been, and it made her pop off of me, but I think as parents and even as fathers, it doesn't hurt sometimes to ask our children, if I could do something better, what would you say, to evaluate us as parents, right? We get evaluated through our jobs, and sometimes we get evaluated in our marriages or our spouses, but I think as parents, it doesn't hurt to say, evaluate me and tell me how I can do a better job.
That's interesting, because, I've never asked my daughters that,
Yeah.
I mean, they're grown now,
Yeah.
But I guess, I could still ask them now, but it's interesting. I never thought to ask them that, because they probably wouldn't say that about me, but I'm sure they have their own things that I probably could do better. I'm sure, because nobody's perfect. Perfection
absolutely.
is a fallacy. I mean, we always try to get better, but nobody will be perfect.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. I feel like my laid backness is really of who I am, and I probably could be more. I don't know. I can't say I'm too laid back. I would really need to ask them what what they think of my
Yeah.
demeanor with them consistently. I feel like it's
Yeah.
been because the most important thing, I love my wife, love my kids, all that. But one of the most important things in my life is my peace.
Man.
Yeah. And I like to prioritize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
At all costs. And keeping a peaceful household is important.
Right.
And not to say that there aren't things where, tempers flare and things like that. That's just natural. But overall, I like a peaceful house. So I feel like I've let my laid backness kind of not run the household, but my parenting style is very laid back. I'm there. I'm gonna show up for you and everything.
Right.
But I'm not gonna really yell and scream and there may be moments, but that's not who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Unless it takes a lot for me to get mad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like, I'm a little different. Like it takes a lot for me to get mad.
Yeah.
If I really start yelling, something's really, you know what I mean?
Our tempers, your temper, the parental temper, the fatherly temper, I think sets the tone for the home. Mm-hmm. And, we can either set a tone of, anger and anxiousness in the house. But like you said, you bring a tone of peace and chill and relaxing, right? Like every time I come by here to record, to hang out, like as soon as I walk through that front door, it is just super chill. I take my shoes off. I dap you up.
Right.
It's good, brother. Good to see you.
Right.
But it's always super chill. And even when your family may, look down and say, "Hey, good to see you, Derek." Everybody's like, "Hey, Derek, how you doing?" It's super chill. I'm like, wow, everybody in here on this Zen tip, which is good though, right? Yeah. Versus you can walk into some households and you immediately feel chaos.
It's always, what did I walk into?
What did you walk into? From the hello to
right.
All that stuff. So I applaud you on keeping a household of peace, bro.
No, it's very important. It's definitely very important.
Yeah.
Another thing that I was thinking about was speaking about our fathers as we were.
Yeah.
They're both deceased.
Yeah.
We both had different relationships with our fathers.
Right.
If they were still alive, I thought about what kind of questions would we have for them now that we're fathers.
Man.
I mean, like I said, our questions would probably be very different based on our different relationships.
Yeah. I do have a lot of questions, man. My father chose the fast life, right? At the back then. In the 70s, in the 80s, I think he chose a fast life of get it quick.
Right.
Be it selling drugs, unfortunately other things as well, from home invasions to just anything he could do to make it quick, right? To make the money quick. But he was also, from what I understand, he was very smart, right? I believe, if I'm correct, my mother said that they met when my mom worked at the University of Michigan and he was attending University of Michigan. I may be wrong. So clearly he had some smarts to him.
Yeah.
But I think that the whole waiting 4 years to get a degree and coming out making a little bit of money was like, no, this is too slow. Right. I need this money right now, right? So my question to him would be, what made you want it so quickly? Why? I think that's one of the questions I would ask is, what was the rush? Why did you have to have it so fast that you were willing to take those kind of risks that would take you away from your family, which it inevitably did? It took him away from me. He ended up in prison for a long time, most of my middle school, high school life as a result. So that would probably be one of the first questions. What about you, man? What would you talk to him about?
Wow, man. My father passed maybe like 6 months before my wife and I started dating.
Okay.
I really think about him often, and I say to myself sometimes, I wish he was here to meet my wife and the girls and my grandson and all that. So
man.
But I probably would ask him for advice about parenting. Because when you are the child and haven't become a parent yet at all, and you're younger, you're not thinking about how hard their jobs are to take care of you.
Right.
All that they have to do.
Yeah.
I probably ask him what could I do better too? You know, how do you think I'm doing with it? Or certain situations that I may come across with the kids, I would ask him how he would handle certain things. So I just wonder how he would handle, like, what his thought process would be when it comes to parenting. Because I, you know, I didn't think about that as a kid. You just like, you know, my parents, like, you know, that's what they are. You know what I'm saying?
And you're right. That's a good question, right? And you're right. We have two very different answers.
Yeah.
You know, the question from a man that obviously had the presence of a father is going to be different from my answer, not having him in the home and being around. I think that would be. What do you think he would say?
Oh man, as far as
Just you being as I believe, and I don't, I can't obviously speak for him, but do you think he'd be proud of you?
yeah, I think so. I mean, just having a family period is a lot.
Yeah.
And to have a family that, like, I love my family. It's a great family.
Yeah.
And having that feeling is
Yeah.
great. So I think he would definitely be proud.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I said, no family is perfect,
Right.
but we are a loving family. I mean, we go through our ups and downs just like anybody, but
Yeah.
I feel like overall we're as well balanced as we could be. You know,
Right.
everybody is doing their own thing. We
Yeah.
support one another. You know, whatever
Right.
happens, good or bad. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
that's what it's about. And we try to be real as possible. Like that's one thing.
Yeah.
You know, with the girls. You know, and what I've learned from their mom parenting them.
Right.
She's real with them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She really doesn't sugarcoat stuff, you know, and I think the girls are appreciative of that. So I try to do that as well, be as real as possible.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Try not to, because a lot of times we want to protect.
Yeah.
From, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you got to give them that reality because this life
especially
is real.
as they start to get older in age.
Yeah.
You know, my conversations with my son changed from 9 to 10 to 12 to 14 to 16. As he's gotten older, I've gotten more raw in the conversation.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So at one point, the conversations may have just simply been about hygiene. You know, make sure you always putting on deodorant. You don't want to be the musty boy. Right. To let's have real talk about, drugs or whatever the case, you being introduced to it in high school, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like we've had, the conversations have definitely got more serious. I think the other question that I would ask my father is just how he was fathered. I have no idea how my grandfather fathered my father, which in turn may have determined why he may have determined why he made certain decisions.
Yeah, you have no idea what his life was like as a kid.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
No one has been able to tell me that story. I mean, granted, I maybe could try and reach out to an aunt or an uncle, his siblings, to find out more, but it's nothing like getting it from your parent.
Right.
What was childhood like? And here's the thing too. I think some of our parents went through some things that they may not want to share.
That's a fact. I believe that too. I so believe that.
You know what I'm saying?
Because we have an idea of our parents, especially when we have an idea of our parents.
Yeah.
But then it's like when you get older, like as a kid, we always want to rush to grow up.
Yeah.
And then when you grow up, you be like, oh, this is what it's like.
This is what it's like.
And so as parents, we're like, oh, this is what it's like.
Man, they was fighting if anything, harder than we're fighting now.
Oh, I absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I think that's why at this age and time of my life, I have a lot more appreciation for what my mother, the sacrifices that my mother made, that she has never told me about. But I know now at this age, I'm like, oh, I know she was making hella sacrifices to do for me, right? And she never looked for, a pat on the back or an award to say Mom of the Year, but it could just simply have been a thank you. But definitely I would have asked my father, what was it like when you were 9, 10, 12, 16 years old? How did my grandfather, who we call Papa, how did Papa father you?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know my parents, they definitely made sacrifices, but it'd be nice to have that talk with my father to find out what life was like for him as a kid too, because I really didn't know that much either. I
Yeah.
because I really didn't ask when I really didn't ask too much about his childhood. You know,
Was it? And let me ask you this: was it because the perception was that you don't ask grown folks stuff? Do you think it was a part of that? Like, have we built a culture within our community of the black families? Like, you don't go asking grown folks, about certain things.
I wouldn't say it was that, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I didn't ask. Maybe I just wasn't curious because sometimes we got our own stuff going on. We're busy
Yeah.
trying to figure out the world as we grow or
Right.
whatever. But as I'm at this age, and I think about what was my father doing at this age,
Yeah.
and how did he handle this and that and things
Right.
so many things I wish I probably could ask him as
Yeah.
advice wise.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not just being a father, but also being a husband.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a shame that both of our fathers are not here,
Right.
that we could, because I don't care how old you are, you can always learn.
Man.
You're always gonna learn.
Not even how old you are. I think no matter what life your parent lived, you always want to still learn more about them.
Yeah.
Right. So even though my father may not have made the best decisions, it mattered, but it was like, but I still want to know him. Right. And I think my mother at different times tried to protect me from the life that my father was living. But at the end of the day, he was still my father. And I still wanted to know so much about him. But I think she was trying to protect me from that, and I remember when he got out of prison at one point, which was maybe junior, senior year of high school, I remember my mother saying to me, be careful, your dad's out of prison, and she didn't know that I already knew that he was out, right?
Okay.
And so I was kind of sneaking to talk to him, right? And I found out, through the streets and through his friends who reached out to me, but she was trying to protect me. But man, it's like you said, there's so much I would ask him.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. It's those certain conversations that we might have missed. Even with the different relationships we had, we still have conversations we never had with our fathers, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like there's some conversations I could have had that you couldn't have, but still didn't have them.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
You're
So,
right.
I mean, it's definitely interesting, man. But
Yeah.
you know,
that's why I like that we do this, because at some point my hope is that our children can come back and see this and learn a little bit about us through this. So even if they never get the courage to ask us about who we are, they can still go back and hit play and perhaps learn a little bit about us, even just through this platform.
Thinking about that, asking them questions that we can't ask them now. I think, was it Mother's Day last year? I got something for my mother, one of those books
Okay.
where there's a bunch of questions about your mother. And she has it's like a book that she has to answer questions, random stuff. I think I gave it to her last year. I'm trying to. It was like a little book. It wasn't a super big book,
Right.
but just questions about her life that that I haven't really asked her either. So talking about our dads like that and questions that we can't ask them.
Yeah.
I can still ask my mom. So. And she could
There you
probably
go.
tell me some things about my father that,
There you go.
that I've never asked. And she might know that I don't think that she might know. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's something,
Right.
that's something I'm going to do.
I'm glad. Share that book if you get a chance, man. Maybe the title, whatever. Just because, with my mother still being alive, I would love to. There's a lot of questions I want to ask her before I don't have the opportunity.
Yeah. Because you never know how life goes. So we hope for long life for both of our moms.
Absolutely.
But the real is the real. So we definitely gotta stay curious about the people who brought us here. You know what I'm saying? And we could learn some things, and it could help us help our kids. You never know.
Yeah.
Like they got, no matter how successful a person is financially, whatever, whether they got money or not, they have experience in this life if they're older.
Yeah.
And they got something to offer you.
Man, some of the best experience probably could come from family members that didn't make it as far as us in life.
That's true.
But they had a lot of things that kept them grounded, their faith, their tenacity, the things that they made priority. And, this generation, our generation, sometimes we can make the wrong things the priority. And I think for a lot of them, because they were, struggling to make ends meet and to do things for us, their biggest priority was their family, for whatever they had to do for us. And 2, 3, 4 jobs and sacrificing and taking, this bus line to that bus line to that bus line, all the work, for pennies at sometimes to still put food on the table. So,
yeah, I mean, that's definitely an inspiration. To providing for your family is a never-ending job. And if you value your life and your family, you're going to do what you have to do to make sure they're as good as they can be.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely, man.
So, that's what was on my mind, man. Those
That's
couple
good.
questions, bro.
This is good, man. This is good. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we keeping it going, man.
I appreciate
Episode 4.
Episode 4, brother. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
Episode 5. Love you, bro.
Man, love you too, man. So next time, join us. Episode 5 is going to come. Eventually, we want to have some guests, hear other brothers' perspective on fatherhood and things like that. So stay with us as we continue to grow this thing. Peace.
Peace.